Imagine you are reading a book. It is a memoir from a famous actor. You hear their voice in your head. You feel their emotions. The stories are personal, filled with details only they would know. But what if the person who wrote those words was not the actor? What if it was someone else entirely? Someone you have never heard of? This is the world of the ghostwriter. A ghostwriter is a professional writer who is paid to write for another person. That other person, the one whose name appears on the cover, is the author. The ghostwriter, as the name suggests, remains invisible, a phantom presence behind the text. The idea is simple. A person has a story to tell but lacks the time or the skill to write it well. Think of a busy CEO, a world-traveling musician, or a political figure. They have lived incredible lives, full of lessons and adventures. They want to share these experiences with the world. But writing a full-length book is a difficult and time-consuming job. It requires a specific set of skills, structuring a narrative, crafting sentences, and maintaining a consistent tone. This is where the ghostwriter steps in. They are the bridge between the idea and the finished product, the silent craftsman who builds the house in which the author's story will live. This relationship is built on a special kind of trust. The ghostwriter's job is not to invent a story, but to capture one. They become a professional listener. They conduct long interviews, sometimes for hours and hours, just to understand the author's life, their thoughts, and their unique way of speaking. They might read old letters, watch interviews, and talk to the author's friends and family. Their goal is to absorb the author's personality so completely that they can write as if they were that person. The final book should not sound like a ghostwriter. It must sound exactly like the person on the cover. It is a disappearing act. So the ghostwriter is more than just a typist or an editor. They are a collaborator, a confidant, and a storyteller all in one. They take the raw material of a life, the memories, the feelings, the big ideas, and shape it into a coherent and compelling narrative. They find the story within the noise. When you pick up a celebrity's autobiography or a business leader's guide to success, there's a very good chance that an unseen hand helped guide the words onto the page. The voice you hear belongs to the star, but the craft, the patient work of putting it all together, often belongs to the ghost. It is a secret partnership that powers a huge part of the publishing world. The list of people who use ghostwriters is longer and more varied than you might expect. It is a common practice across many fields. The most obvious group is celebrities. Actors, musicians, and athletes often live lives that are fascinating to the public. Their fans want to know the story behind their success, the struggles they faced, and the secrets of their world. But being a great actor or a world-class tennis player does not automatically make you a great writer. So, they hire a professional to help them tell their story in a way that is engaging, emotional, and authentic. The ghostwriter ensures the book is as polished as the celebrity's public persona. But it is not just Hollywood stars. Leaders in business and politics frequently rely on ghostwriters. A CEO of a major company might want to write a book about their leadership philosophy. A former president might want to publish a memoir about their time in office. These individuals are experts in their fields, but their field is not writing. They are also incredibly busy. A ghostwriter allows them to share their knowledge and experiences without having to step away from their demanding careers. The ghostwriter can take complex ideas about economics or foreign policy and translate them into clear, accessible language for a broad audience. It is about efficiency and expertise. Even experts who are good writers might use a ghostwriter. Think of a doctor who has a groundbreaking idea for a new health book. They know the subject inside and out. They might even be good at writing medical journal articles. But writing for a popular audience is a different skill. A ghostwriter who specializes in health and wellness can help structure the book, make the science easy to understand, and add compelling patient stories. The doctor provides the core information and the credibility, while the ghostwriter provides the narrative skill to make the book a bestseller. It becomes a collaboration of two different kinds of experts. The world of music also has its own version of ghostwriting. Many hit songs credited to a single pop star were actually co-written with a team of professional songwriters. These songwriters are experts at crafting catchy melodies and memorable lyrics. The pop star might provide the initial idea, a theme, or a few lines, and the team helps build it into a complete song. In some cases, a rapper might hire a ghostwriter to write their verses. This is sometimes controversial, but it is a part of the industry. The goal is to create the best possible product, and sometimes that means bringing in a specialist, a secret weapon to help make the word shine. The most crucial skill for a ghostwriter is not just writing well, it is writing like someone else. This is a strange and difficult art. The ghostwriter must become a vocal chameleon, able to adopt the unique rhythm, vocabulary, and personality of their client. The first step in this process is immersion. The ghostwriter spends a tremendous amount of time simply listening. They will record hours upon hours of interviews with the author. In these conversations, they are listening for more than just facts. They're listening for the way the author tells a story, the specific phrases they repeat, their sense of humor, and the cadence of their speech. This process is like method acting for writers. The ghostwriter surrounds themselves with the author's world. They might watch every television interview the author has ever given. They will read articles written about them and by them. If possible, they will talk to the author's family, friends, and colleagues to get a 360-degree view of their personality. They are searching for the author's tell, the small, unique habits of speech that make them sound like themselves. Does the author use short, punchy sentences? Or do they speak in long, flowing thoughts? Are they formal or informal? Answering these questions is key to creating a believable voice. Once the research is done, the writing begins. The ghostwriter will produce a first draft of a chapter and send it to the author for feedback. This is a critical moment. The author will read the text and say, "This doesn't sound like me," or, hopefully, "Wow, it sounds like I wrote it myself." The feedback is rarely about grammar or spelling. It is about authenticity. The author might say, "I would never use that word," or "This part feels too emotional. I'm more analytical." The ghostwriter then revises the text, tweaking and adjusting the tone until it is a perfect match. This back and forth can happen many times for every single chapter. Think of it this way. A painter can try to forge a masterpiece by another artist. To do so, they must study the artist's brushstrokes, their use of color, and the way they handle light and shadow. A ghostwriter does the same thing with words. They study the author's verbal brushstrokes. For example, when ghostwriting for a comedian, the writer must understand their timing and sense of irony. When writing for a scientist, they must capture their precision and intellectual curiosity. The final product should be a seamless echo, a text where the writer's presence has vanished completely, leaving only the author's voice resonating on the page. One of the defining features of ghostwriting is the ghost's invisibility. In most cases, the ghostwriter receives no public credit for their work. Their name does not appear on the cover. They are not mentioned in the acknowledgments. A legal contract, a non-disclosure agreement, often prevents them from ever revealing their role. They are paid for their work, often very well, but their payment is financial, not public recognition. For many ghostwriters, this is simply part of the job. They see themselves as skilled service providers, like an architect who designs a house for a client. The client owns the house and the author owns the book. This lack of credit is where the controversy begins. Some people believe that ghostwriting is a form of deception. They argue that when a reader buys a book with a certain author's name on it, they expect that person to have written it. They feel that it is dishonest to present a ghost-written work as the product of a single author. It raises questions of authenticity. If a leader writes a book about integrity, but they were not honest about who wrote it, does that undermine the message? This is a point of debate in the literary world and among the reading public. The practice can feel like a trick. On the other hand, many people see ghostwriting as a normal and necessary part of the creative industries. They argue that what matters is the story and the ideas, not who physically typed the words. A celebrity or a CEO has the unique experiences and insights that make a book interesting. The ghostwriter is simply a tool, a skilled collaborator who helps bring those ideas to life. In this view, the author is the person whose life and thoughts form the basis of the book. The ghostwriter is a facilitator, not the true creator. Without ghostwriters, they argue, many valuable and interesting stories would never be told. Ultimately, the world of ghostwriting exists in a gray area. It is a secret that is widely known but rarely discussed. There are even parallels in other arts. In the world of fine art, famous artists like Andy Warhol had The Factory, where assistants help produce his works. In music, as we've seen, producers and songwriters contribute heavily to an album credited to a single artist. Ghostwriting is simply the literary version of this collaborative reality. It reminds us that creating something, a book, a song, a piece of art, is often a team effort, even when only one name ends up in the spotlight. The ghostwriter remains the silent, essential partner in the story of how stories get told.